So here we are done with the asexual reproduction mode. Now we are starting with the sexual mode of reproduction. In this we are going to cover two portions. One is of a plant and second one of a human beings. Now sexual reproduction, first we need to understand how the structure of a plant or a flower looks like. There are two types of flower. One is like bisexual plants and one is unisexual plant. That means bisexual plant, it contains both the male and female part, whereas unisexual plant, it contains either a male part or a female part. Now here the question arises, which one is a male part, which one is a female part? If you closely look at the flower, the center portion is pistil. It comprises of stigma, style and ovary. Ovary which contains the main female gamete, ovule. Adjacent to it you will see a structure of a stamen. It comprises of anther and filament. The top portion, which is a structure just looking like a seed, that is anther, and the one which is attached to the ovary, that is filament. Now the anther contains the male reproductive part of a flower, that is pollen grain. Below of it you will see there is sepal, which is two green pollen leaves present on it, and petal, the red color leafy, which is for a protection of a flower. Now how the plant, it mainly reproduces by a process of pollination. Now pollination, it is a transfer of pollen grain from the male part, which is the anther of a stamen, to the stigma of a pistil by the action of wind, water or insect of a same species, of a same flower. If it is a same species of a same flower, then it is self-pollination. But if it from the another flower, then it is cross-pollination. We get variety of flowers due to the cross-pollination. Now the insects, they play a very crucial role. If you will see in the figure, cross-pollination, the butterfly was sitting on the another flower and then it flew to reach the second flower. So there would be a transfer of pollen grain from first flower to second flower, and we'll get the variation, and the pollination process is also taking place. Now the next step is fertilization. Definitely once pollination has taken place, now the process of fertilization will take place. If you closely look at this figure, this is your pistil, right? Now in this figure, the top portion is a stigma, which is little viscous and mucus. Once the pollen grain sits on that portion, it sticks to it. Why? Because it is sticky. Now once it reaches and sits over there, it gets the moisture, and the ovary, it gets the signal that the pollen grain has reached to the stigma. Now the ovary will start secreting a chemical which starts attracting the pollen grain towards it. This process we call as gametropism. So when the chemical will be secreted, the pollen grain, it will start developing into pollen tube, and it will go reach and attach to the ovary and directly burst into ovules. The pollen tube, it bursts, and the pollen grains, it will directly get fused with the ovules which is present inside the ovary to form a zygote. The fusion of male gamete with the female gamete to form a zygote is called as fertilization, and it is taking place inside the ovary of a plant. Now once this process takes place and the fertilization will take place, so what will happen, the initially ovules, after the process of fertilization and a growth, it will be converted into seed, and the ovary, it will be converted into fruit. Now we are going to start with reproduction in human beings. First we need to understand this anatomy of male reproductive system. If you closely look at the structure of a male reproductive system, the main portion, the main organ which is responsible for the various changes and the difference of a human male and a female is testicle. Now if you look at it from a testicle, there is one pipe which is going through that, and you'll see it is attached to a bladder. Below the bladder there are two glands, seminal vesicle and prostate gland. So how the complete process starts here, the male reproductive system, it consists of a pair of testes, two pairs of testes which is present inside the scrotum. Now this pair of testes, it is usually outside the body of a male human system because testis is responsible for the production of a hormone of testosterone as well as sperms. Now the production of sperms require 2 to 3 degrees Celsius less temperature than our normal body temperature. That's why it is outside the human body. Now it is contained in a sac-like structure called scrotum. From each testis arises a tube called vas deferens. You can see a tube which is attached to it. Now the vas deferens, it joins the urethra. The urethra is enclosed in a muscular organ called penis. It has an opening called genital pole. The seminal vesicle and prostate gland, it provides the fluid and the nutrition so that the sperms will become semen. Now how it starts, very simple. The testis, it starts producing the sperm. Once it starts producing the sperm, it starts moving with a vas deferens, a pipe you can see. Once it crosses that pipe, the seminal vesicle and prostate gland, they add on their secretion to those sperms so that it will become liquid viscous form. And it contains all the required nutrients for the complete development of a sperm. Actually, it is what? It is a DNA. It contains all the DNA content and the information of a father, of a male. So it has to be nutrition and it has to be very quick. So that become a complete liquid form, and then it will reach to the urethra which is inside the penis. Now remember, there is only single way for the passage of urine as well as the sperm's semen, through penis only. Now what is a sperm? It is a male gamete, male sex cell. We call it as a male gamete as well as male sex cell or a germ cell. There are various names. If you see the structure, it is just like a small type of an insect. There is a head which we call as acrosome, then midpiece and a tail. Tail is for a quick movement. It is very fast. At one go, they secrete millions of sperms. The head, it contains all the required information, the DNA component mainly. The midpiece, it provides support, and tail for the movement. Now it is motile, it moves, whereas female gamete, it does not move. So let's study about the female gamete. Now female reproductive system, it is little complex but it is very interesting. The female reproductive system, it contains a pair of two ovaries. You'll see the two ovaries which has been protected by a fallopian tube. You'll see the hand-like structure. It is catching up the ovary, and then it is going through a complete part which is a uterus, and below there is a cervix and then vagina. On the right side you'll see human ovum egg. Now how it takes place, ovary is responsible for the secretion of hormone estrogen. O is silent. So this hormone, it is responsible for the regulation of various changes which takes place in a female body. Just like the changes which takes place in a male body with the help of a testosterone, in the same way the changes which takes place in a female body through the estrogen. If I say what are the changes which is taking place in a male body through the hormone of testosterone, that is development of the muscles, broadening of chest, the voice become very masculine and hoarse, development of and growth of hair in underarms and near the region of penis. So these all are the changes which are taking place in a male. Once it comes to female, that is estrogen, it is responsible for the development of breast, accumulation of fat in the lower portion, voice become very pitchier, the development of hair in underarms as well as the region near the vagina. Now if you see the structure, the ovaries, every month one of the ovary, it secretes a one full complete egg we call as ovum or ova. It can be any ovary. Although the ovary, it contains many number of cells, but one cell get matured, that is ovum, every month. Once it get matured, it will be caught by the fallopian tube. It catch that egg from the ovary, and that ovum, it will reach to the fallopian tube, and it will stay there and wait there. I told you that human ovum or egg, female one, it will not move, and it is much bigger in size in comparison to human sperm. Now, how fertilization takes place in human beings? We'll take a close look. Once you have a look at this figure, once the ovary, it develops an egg, the egg will reach to the fallopian tube. You'll say that fertilization, for the process of fertilization. Now, the sperm, it will come through the vagina, it crosses the uterus, and it will reaches to the fallopian tube and get fused with it to form a zygote. Now, zygote is a single cell. It is not a double cell. We'll say that one is sperm, one is egg. I told you it's fused. When it is fused, that means the DNA content of both the male gamete as well as the female gamete, it fused and it forms a single cell called zygote. That zygote will divide it into 2 stage, then 4 stage, then 8 stage, then more stage, and blastocyst. Once it becomes a blastocyst, that is a multiple layer of a cell, it get implanted. Now, how the process of implantation takes place? The uterus, the human female system, if you look at it, it is very intelligent. If we say, once the egg has been reached to the fallopian tube, the uterus gets the signal that fertilization is going to take place. That means the uterus has to prepare itself. So the wall, the inside wall, that is endometrium, it starts thickening up with the blood vessels, with a high supply of a blood. Why? Because the uterus knows that the fetus or the embryo, it is going to come and attach to it. So once it comes here, it gets implanted. That means it gets attached to those walls, the embryo. And their embryo, it will keep on dividing, but that embryo is attached to a mother body. That embryo is a child. It is attached to a mother body with the help of a disc-like structure, placenta, which is responsible for the transfer of oxygen and the other food and nutrient requirement for the development of a baby. Similarly, since it is there to provide the nutrition as well as the large surface area, it is also responsible for the removal of waste. So placenta is playing a very important role. The time period from fertilization up to the birth of a baby is called gestation period, that is 9 months in human being. That means it will completely take 9 months for the development of that embryo to fetus to the complete boy or a girl, baby. Now, this is a process when fertilization takes place. What if the fertilization will not take place? That means the intercourse will not take place. At that point of time, the ovary, as we all know, the ovary produces 1 egg every month. And the uterus prepares itself to receive the fertilized egg. So the wall becomes thick and spongy with the blood vessels for the nourishment of that embryo. If the fertilization will not take place, then the uterus wall, it breaks and comes out of a vagina as a form of blood and mucus. This cycle takes place every month, and this cycle is called as menstruation. Now, it is a bit painful sometimes because it is a blood layer, and when it breaks down, it causes some discomfort. So it happens every month if the fertilization will not take place. Now, the main sperm is that the sexual cycle, that is called menstruation in a human, it continues up to the age of 45 to 50. That means that is a time span in which the woman is able to conceive or bear a child. After that, the ovaries, they do not release egg, and this stage is called as menopause. It also marks the end of a reproductive cycle. That means there will be no menstruation and the fertilization will not take place and the woman would not able to bear a child. Whereas when it comes to male, the production of sperms, it will be throughout their life. There will be no stoppage in that. Female sex hormones are estrogen and progesterone, which are responsible for all these regulations which takes place in a female body. Now the most important topic, one of that is reproductive health. Very important, as we should be aware and we should be conscious and we should take care of our reproductive health, because then your body is a temple and you need to take care of it. Now, reproductive health means physical, emotional and social well-being. Social means your behavior. If you are sound, you are happy through your brain, it will be shown in your behavior. If you are physically fit, you will be seen happy. So, it is required that you are socially, physically as well as mentally well. Now, first we'll start with few terminology. First is contraception, that is the avoidance of pregnancy. You people have heard contraceptive methods, you have seen various advertisements in the newspaper as well as on the television. What is contraception? That is, it is a method to avoid the pregnancy. As well as sexually transmitted diseases. Now remember, all contraceptive methods are not very much qualified for the protection from the STD, which is sexually transmitted diseases. But yeah, it is required. What is the sexually transmitted disease? It is a group of infection that is caused by different types of a pathogen. It can be a bacteria, it can be a virus. It is transmitted via sexual contact between a healthy person or an infected person. Now, these type of diseases are also called as venereal diseases. There are approximately 30 types of diseases, but the famous ones are AIDS, gonorrhea, genital warts, herpes, syphilis. Now, AIDS is a life-threatening disease. It cannot be cured. Rest of them, there are the chances that they will get cured. So, what are the reproductive health barrier methods? There are 3 to 4 methods. First is the mechanical barrier method, and the most highly used one and easily available, that is usage of condoms, diaphragms and IUCDs. In this, what method we are talking about? In this method, there is prevention of fertilization by a mechanical physical way. Condoms will say it prevents the entry of sperm into the vagina of a female. Now, the instrument mainly we used are condoms and cervical cap as well as diaphragms. Now, this is the only method which protects the human from the STD, sexually transmitted disease. It is a temporary method and the only method. It is 90% effective, 90 to 95% effective to avoid the pregnancy, but for STD, this is the only method. The second is hormonal method. These are used by women for suppressing the production of ovum, that is through oral pills, implants, morning after pills. Now, oral pills, they are responsible for the killing up or slowing down the process of the formation of egg, and there is another after pill. Once the female undergoes the sexual activity, the pill can be taken up to avoid the pregnancy as well, the chances of pregnancy. Chemical contraceptions, there are some creams, jellies. We'll say those hormonal and chemical, they are equal, right? But means they come in a single category only. The creams, jellies, forming tablets that are placed in vagina for killing the sperm at the time of coitus. Coitus means intercourse. So there are various chemicals which are responsible for suppressing the functioning of a sperm or killing up of a sperm as well as the killing up of the egg. That is through oral pills that the female has to take daily except for the days of menstruation. Now, let me tell you these chemical method. There is another method we call as IUCD, that is intrauterine device, contraceptive device. For example, copper T. Now the copper T has been inserted into the female uterus with the help of a gynecologist or a trained doctor. It avoids the egg to reach the fallopian tube, or it kills the egg once it reaches the fallopian tube to avoid the pregnancy. The last method, which is a surgical method, and we call it as a permanent method. Now there are two ways. One is vasectomy, another one is tubectomy. Now vasectomy is a method which is a surgical method employed on a male, in that a vast difference has been brought by cutting a small piece of it and tying it. This prevents the passage of sperm from testis to mainly penis in a form of a sperm, right? So that prostate gland will do the secretion, seminal vesicle will do the secretion, there will be a liquid present but there will be no sperm present inside it. So that's a method of a vasectomy employed by a male. The second is a tubectomy, which is employed by a female, in which a fallopian tube has been excised or cut and lagitated from both the parts, that means sealed up, to block the passage of an egg to fallopian tube, as fallopian tube is a site of fertilization. So once the egg will not reach the fallopian tube, so the fertilization will not take place. It is a permanent method, that means once it has been done, there are no chances of fertilization taking place, so the couple can plan for it once they have both the children. Whereas the other method, they are the temporary method. But this method will not protect from STD as well. The only method will protect an organism or a human from STD, that is a physical method, to condoms and diaphragms only. So why these methods are employed? To cater to the need that we should have a proper ratio of a population, as well as there will be no overpopulation, the complete planning will be there, as well as the health of a mother. Overproduction of a child will cause damage to a mother's health as well as a uterus. So to make a healthy society, we need a balanced sex ratio, and that can be achieved by educating people to avoid malpractices like female feticide and prenatal sex determination. As you all know that the people, they still in various places, people are getting checked that whether the mother is bearing a female child or a male child, and they get it aborted. To avoid those things, it is very important to educate the students, as you are the future generation, you are the future of a country, so you should maintain a balance and everyone is equal, whether it is male or a female. So I hope this chapter is very much clear to you. In this chapter we have covered two types of a thing, asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. In asexual reproduction, what we have studied: fission, budding, regeneration, fragmentation, vegetative propagation, and spore formation. And when it comes to sexual reproduction, we have studied about two types of a thing. One is a plant, another one is a human thing. In both, sexual reproduction takes place, in both fertilization takes place. And there are the contraceptive methods for reproductive health, the three various: mechanical, chemical and surgical method. So I hope this chapter would be clear for you. Thank you.